It is time for another episode of Off Air Talks, and the guests just keep on getting better. I am Lisa MacGregor.
And I'm Ciara Yaschuk. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been pretty crazy, Lisa. The feedback with the guests, people are loving it. Yes. So I think people were just sick of listening to you and I talk.
I think, well, yeah, they probably were sick of it. It went on for weeks. But also, I think we're all realizing how many interesting people are in the Edmonton area, even for ourselves. And it's just, the list is endless of people. And we're joined by another special person today.
Yes, we've got Kristina. And Kristina, you are a woman entrepreneur in the city. You've got a vegan or plant-based KB & Co., which is just down the road. I love that one. And you've got a couple other locations. But not only that, you have a pretty crazy story. And I think that that's shaped who you are today.
Welcome. We're so lucky to be joined by you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So we were kind of talking a little bit what you were up to this weekend. You were in Kelowna, and you were going over a documentary that you're currently wrapping up.
Yeah, we've just wrapped up this past weekend.
What does this entail? It's
a part of.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So the documentary is called Unbecoming. It's set to be released sometime in the spring. It's essentially, it was a call to action for two entrepreneurs, a male and a female, both in that space of sort of what's next, where am I going? For the female role specifically, it was this female entrepreneur that was kind of in this overdrive state, like wanting more, wanting to do more, just not sure where to go or what's next. So I reached out to the couple that are putting this documentary together to see if I was a good fit, and then went through the whole interview process, and
cool.
And long and behold, yeah. So
what exactly is it all about?
Okay, so the premise is a 6 to 8 month protocol, and the protocol consists of a number of molecules. We'll say I like to use the term molecules, but it's different substances. So there's psilocybin that's on the list, and then there's LSD. Ketamine, and these are all microdose treatments that you would be doing over 3 phases or over the course of 6-7 months.
Whoa.
You start off the protocol by doing what's called 5-MeO, DMT. And that's a 3-part ceremony that you do in person. So I flew out to Kelowna for that.
Had you done this before? Because drugs are not in your wheelhouse. So was this?
No. I mean, I don't touch aspirin. If I can avoid it, I don't touch Tylenol.
Well, you just jumped right in.
I'm a pretty, and people who know me know that I have a pretty strong stance when it comes to drugs. And I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that later. That's mostly due to my upbringing, but no, I had heard of DMT. I had never tried it.
Yeah.
I did a few years ago prior to this. I tried the psilocybin in a ceremony setting. So it wasn't just, it was the first time I had ever done mushrooms.
What's the motivation behind wanting to do this?
Oh, well.
And what it does for you?
For me, when I started this, when I reached out for this protocol, I was in a space last year, spring of 2025, in this like, where am I going with my business? What am I doing? I feel this pull to keep growing, but also to not. I didn't feel like I had any business clarity around what I was doing. I mean, I have the opportunity to grow. I've set up KB & Co. as a franchise, and I was getting inquiries, but there wasn't this like intuitive knowing to like run with that. It was sort of a like, that doesn't feel right, but why doesn't that feel right? I mean, everything's set up, like the whole structure's there. So I felt like I was in this space of, where am I going? Like, what am I doing? Is this like a midlife crisis? Like,
I think that so many people deal with that too, right? Like, especially at the beginning of a new year, you're like, what is my plan here? And when you can't see that forward, it's scary.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because when you mentioned this, I automatically assumed, most people explore those drugs for depression, for anxiety, for psychedelics, healing. But the fact that you're exploring it just to take things to the next level, it kind of reminds me of the movie Limitless. Like, you're wanting to take yourself.
What pill are you going to take?
Okay. You want to go full next level up.
It's funny. We can circle back to the protocol, but we spoke about LSD over the weekend with the production team. And Of the phases, the first phase is psilocybin with ketamine, and then the second phase is LSD. And then the third phase is doing 5-MeO DMT on my own weekly. But phase 2, which was the LSD, was by far my favorite. And I kept saying, like, it made me feel like and again, it's a microdose, so I was still like going to work
like
and stuff. But it felt like everything was really dialed in and laser sharp. Everything was clear. And I just felt like I had all this time. And yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Makes me know that Steve Jobs got into LSD quite a bit. I mean, it tells you.
Yeah.
So this is all being documented in this documentary.
Yeah.
So do you kind of talk to them, like how you're feeling in the moment, or did you have a camera crew follow you, or what does that look like?
Oh yeah, I had a camera crew that was there for the first part, which was the 5-MeO ceremony. That was really hard. I actually just got to see a clip of that experience. I had struggled really hard with the ceremony, so I think they were not wanting me to see it for the longest time. I had like asked a few times, like, I'd love to see from the camera side, what that looked like. But they're there. They film that ceremony, and then they actually flew back to Edmonton a few days later with me, and then they just sort of watch your whole. They're sort of a fly on the wall for a couple of days, and then they leave and come back maybe 3-4 weeks later, and then get a week of content in there. They flew me to Nepal last. I think I want to say I went in April or May. I was there for just over a week, stayed in a monastery. So
this is all part of this journey.
Wow.
Part of this documentary. Yeah. So it's
this sounds like an incredible journey to go on, and it's. I mean, your life is unbelievable. And the fact that you had mentioned that your family had struggled with addiction, your upbringing is so interesting. So could you give us kind of an idea of how it was and why you have a different perspective on drugs now?
Yeah, different perspective in the way of like liking them,
or
using them, or like
not abusing them, right? Like obviously here in Edmonton, it's a huge issue downtown. Everybody sees it, but this is a different way that you took them after being so scared of them for so long.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with parents who, my earlier childhood, I don't really remember. I wouldn't remember them using or doing a whole lot of drugs. There were a lot of parties. Both my parents threw, various parties, but my parents separated, I want to say when I was about 7 or 8. And then I think my mom just sort of off the rails, just, partied more. And I am sure that there were a lot of drugs at that time, but it was more so alcohol. Like I would see her drunk all the time. And then, I was probably, when I was 11, that I had ended up leaving home, where she had actually moved me to live with my sister, who was living with a guy at the time. And I remember when I've shared this story so many times, where she like dropped me off and she unloaded my boxes like I was at college or something. Like she was like, here, I knew this day would come. I'm, just like in tears, like this was like some like milestone. And I'm 11 years old in grade 7, like trying to figure out how I'm going to go to my elementary school and then live this life with my sister, who was in the party scene with a bunch of people. So it kind of started there. And then from there, it was just like couch surfing. My sister would eventually leave, and then I had nowhere to go. So I would just try to follow her around or end up with whoever I could through the party scene. And I'm hanging out with people who are like 16 and older, mostly hanging out in arcades. There were nights where I didn't have a place to sleep. So I slept, the Okanagan stays pretty warm throughout like all seasons, but slept on a park bench, slept in someone's garage by like breaking into the garage just to sleep in somebody's car.
Oh my gosh.
So kind of just like, but again, like this is my normal. Like you didn't see anything else?
No. Didn't know anything else,
No, until I was then placed in various foster homes. And then when I'm placed in various foster homes, then you kind of get a different view of like, oh, this is maybe how, and I had great foster homes. I had really good homes that I was able to kind of then compare, right? Then I see that like, oh, this is like how you're supposed to raise your kids. This is the cleanliness of a space and like food on the table and like structure. This is how you raise kids. So I was in and out of foster homes and all over the streets. And through this time, not doing a whole lot of drugs. I hated pot because it always made me paranoid. But I did do acid, LSD, when I was 11. And that was because these two guys had like approached me to do it. And I was
That's your
just
environment.
like, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I ended up in the hospital, not because like anything had happened other than just I was like full on tripping out, and they had ended up pumping my stomach. But then it was like a week or two later, I'd be out at another party and I'd try it again because my sister would be there. Like it was just like this from 11 to really 14, 15, in and out of this like party scene of, just, and again, nothing hard other than like the LSD, maybe 3 or 4 times, but, and then drinking, of course. So,
but just so young, like, was anybody ever concerned at school, or did you not really go to school?
No, then
or?
I like stopped going to school. Like I want to say like grade 7, I don't think I ever finished because that was really hard to like then get myself to elementary school.
Of course.
That was bizarre. Me and my sister actually, she's my oldest, and she's coming up to 3 years, maybe 4 years sober, and so we've become super close, and through that we've been reminiscing so much about our upbringing, and we're just like when we talk about it, it's like what the fuck?
Right.
Like, and we were talking about just this past weekend about me being 11 and I'm trying to figure out like where she was, and like so hence we she was like, you were in grade 7. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think I even went to that school anymore because. Yeah. Like, why would I get up and like go to school? And I think I did a few times because I remember waking up and having Cheerios with water, which she was like, yeah, no, this guy that she lived with never had milk. So I would just like have this bowl of Cheerios with water and then go to school.
And the kids are to school with, I mean, they have no idea. It's crazy. Like, I think to the times, everyone has a different upbringing, but I'm sure you were like 11 going on 21, essentially.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, I for sure was. And that's why I think when I would then get pregnant with my oldest at 15, it felt like, and I just shared this story with my dad not long ago because he still is like, I mean, what were you, you were only 15. I'm like, yeah, but I had felt like I was now 20 or 21. So I'm like, well, it's time to settle down and like start this.
You can't even drive yet. You're 15.
Well, I was driving like somehow.
You partied enough. You want to have a little quiet life.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's time to settle down and like chill for a bit. But I got pregnant when I was 15 in BC. And then I moved to Edmonton, which was where the father had lived and was born and raised. So moved here. And at that time, there was a school called Tara at Braemar that had just opened up. I think it was their first year ever.
In the Otwell community. I remember always seeing moms. Like, I grew up in Otwell and seeing moms walking with the really young moms walking with their babies.
Yeah. So that
Great
was, school. I made the decision to go back to school and get my high school education there. But that was the need to do that and the desire to do that was mainly, I would say, based on feeling like I needed validation. Like I needed to, I mean, when you're having a baby at like, I just turned 16 when I actually had him, you're dealing with so many that stereotype of like, I'm just going to be a welfare case or, and these are like nurses that kind of make you feel that way. And anybody that you're talking to and you say how old you are, then you're, then there's sort of like, it's so bad that I do that today where I'm like, oh, like I see these teenage moms and I'm like, oh, what, like I can be pretty. So I get that. And I think this, I think it was from that point on, there was this like internal, like, drive to be someone or do something really good with my life so that I would be accepted.
And would you say that moving to Edmonton was probably the best decision that you could have made?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it also, then I was away from that environment, right? Like not just in the community I was going back and forth between Penticton and Kelowna, BC, but not just in the way of the community, but also family members, right?
Yeah.
How in the world did you learn entrepreneurship or even have the balls essentially to go that route? I mean, you said that you had that drive, but you could have gone a million different directions than that. Like, what do you think it was, or what did you pick up at some point that really gave you that skill set?
I think it really was originally this idea of like was just so badly not wanting to be like my mom, just not wanting to be where I, like anything that I had come, where I'd come from. Like I didn't want this, I didn't want to be on welfare. I knew that I wanted clean environments. Like I think that, thank God that I had really good experiences in foster homes, because there were homes that I were in that gave me, that taught me how to be a parent.
And like
because
hope
I wouldn't
almost.
have. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, I could. Like, I remember this one home that I was in that she would like make breakfast. I think that sounds like it's just something that moms should normally do for their kids. But like, there was this whole routine of like breakfast on the table at a certain time and then off to school. And there was like, schedules and that I just remember thinking when I got pregnant with my youngest or with my oldest, that's the kind of mom that I would be. Like that I just would be this like perfect. And my oldest's father was amazing. Like he was very supported me going back to school.
Wow. Especially because you're so young, right? 15 years old. Like,
yeah. I mean, he was 21. So like that was a bit strange.
Hell yeah. Times have changed. That's for sure.
Seriously.
Yeah. But I was not, I always just felt like I was 15 going on 21.
Yeah.
So it never was.
So
like
after school, then when did you decide to open up? Did you go to university after, and then you decided to open up the KB&Co? Was that kind of your first business?
No, that was like, oh my gosh, I've done so much. No, so I had made a contact with this salesy consultant out of BC to, he's a business consultant that can help Indigenous people get government grants to buy a business. And so I had met him when I was 15.
And you're Métis, right?
I'm Métis, yeah.
Métis, yeah.
So I tried to go back to college. I went back to BC, enrolled in college, and was going to take business and administration. And then I think I did maybe like 6 months, and then reached out to this consultant that I had remembered meeting and asked him about government grants. So we had originally started that process in BC, but then the father of my oldest, it was a bit of a story because I had actually left for a time being and then came back, but he was still in Edmonton, the father of my oldest too. And so I came back to Edmonton and started pursuing what that would look like here. And there were just better options for grants here. And so I ended up buying a Quiznos franchise.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't even think Quiznos is around anymore.
Yeah,
There's a couple.
There maybe I feel like I've seen a few,
classic.
but it was like
in Moose Jaw, that's where I'm from. That was like the only place you go for lunch. The hot toasty Quiznos.
It's funny looking back that I was such an advocate for Quiznos. I was all about that Angus steak and that mesquite chicken. I was all about it. And then today I'm like, pushing plants.
What a great start, though.
You're right.
Yeah. So at the time I was 19, 20, and the capital required you needed in order to access this government grant, which was up to about $100,000 of free and clear cash that they would give you. And if you were going to get $100,000 towards that project, there was a good chance that the bank would fund the remaining. So I only needed, in order to get that grant, I want to say $10,000 or $15,000 at the time.
Wow.
Of my own money, which, at the time I didn't have. No. But my, the father of my oldest two, he essentially just pulled that from, you can't get away with this now today in these programs, but you could pull that from somewhere and show a receipt, I have this money to contribute, and then just put it back. Yeah. Which is what we did. Was enough to get me into a Quiznos franchise. So I opened, maybe it was the 8th or 9th Quiznos here in Edmonton at the time.
And, I can't believe the guts you had to do that.
Seriously.
People that are 50 years old
when you're 21,
piles of money, or I don't know, it's a little risky.
I think it's easier when you're younger. Yeah. Probably. It's gotta be. Because you don't think about, and you don't know anything about business or risk. Yeah. People can say it's a big risk, but you're what does that even mean? If you don't pay your bills, you're attached to leases. And I was loans and leases, but I just never, that was never a thought.
Were you making the sandwiches too?
What's that?
Were you making the sandwiches?
Oh yeah, I full on operated it. I was obsessed. I had that store on the north side of Edmonton for almost 5 years. But after 2 years, I became this maybe it was a year and a half to 2 years. I would get customers that would come in and they would request mayo or mustard on their subs, which back then was a huge no-no. You're not allowed to carry mayo or mustard. So then when a customer would say, I was over at so-and-so and they have mayo or mustard, I would then like go to that location and talk to the franchisee and just say like, hey, you're not supposed to be carrying these products. And like, I will for sure tell. And so I was always in these, when Quiznos Canada, which was based out of Mississauga, when they would come to, they would usually go Edmonton, Vancouver, and they would host these at the Hotel Mac, these like big event every quarter.
You just wrap people
I
out.
would just wrap people out. I would just go like,
right on. You gotta do what you gotta do.
like, you know, because it affects the brand. And like people are going to go to another location because they have something they want, but not mine, when you're not even supposed to have that.
Isn't it funny how at that time when you're that age, things are such a big deal, and you were like, you're so serious about it.
Yeah. I was like, you know, I was their little like spy. I would just, so then that led me to exploring what kinds of roles Quiznos Canada had. And they had, after about a year and a half or closer to 2 years, they had a role that opened up. It was a director of operations for Quiznos Canada.
Oh my gosh.
And so then I would bug the VP and I would say like, I'm like, there's nobody better suited. Like I will. And that entailed looking after all Quiznos locations over Western Canada and then opening new locations. So working with franchisees, setting their store up, training all of their staff.
I am shocked. I don't know why I'm so shocked by this. I had no idea.
It's pretty amazing. It's kind of like what better way to learn though, through a franchise? And you lay down the law. You're like, this is how it's done.
Yeah. And so after like the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So I bugged for a while, and I got like, how old are you? Like I got a lot of that. Like, how old are you again? I'm like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And my store ran like perfect.
I believe it.
These audits,
I believe it too. You can eat off that floor.
Yeah, totally.
You could. So I ended up getting that role, and that was a big accomplishment for me. I was about 22, 23.
That's insane.
Like, director of operations, but it was a ton of travel. I was gone all the time. At this point now I had 2 kids, my oldest, my son and my daughter. She was 2, and I was just everywhere. Like I was all over, not just in Western Canada, but they'd fly me out to Toronto to help with stuff. And I was gone for like 3.5 weeks out of the month. So it was a lot of travel, and it gets old, this like hotel bouncing around and schmoozing and dealing with the stresses of opening stores and delays and like managing all of that was a lot. So I had ended up, and through this time my marriage was starting to suffer. So
of course
we decided to go our own ways, which for me meant like travel wasn't going to be as accessible and easy for me.
Yeah.
So I started looking locally for any kind of like franchises. That's all I'd really known, is like that franchise model and consulting in that way. So I started to look for local businesses that were founded here or have an office here, and one that came up was Booster Juice. So
No way.
Yeah. So then
So this is where the health part starts to slowly come in there?
But I mean, yeah. But I never
and then
drank.
how well you could do probably better. I don't want to rip on Brewster.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I had always been like anti Booster Juice, because during my time with Quiznos, like, I mean, there are also a lot of menu items at Quiznos that weren't healthy, but then there were also some that were really healthy. And I was really exploring health around this time. And for me at that time it was a lot of clean eating. So like no sugar and no condiments. And my poor kid still, like my oldest, will still share stories about his days at Vimy where I'd pack him like a cheese sandwich with the swirly bread, the swirly bread you buy at Costco?
Yeah.
So it's just like a slice of cheese, and like a thick slice of cheese, but no condiments, because that was like high sugar, high fat, like all this garbage.
Just this dry bread.
So it's just dry bread. And we didn't do water bottles because that was expensive, and juice boxes were absolutely like no juice in my house at all. So too much sugar. So he said he would just sit by the fountain at school at lunch. So he'd like take a bite of his really dry sandwich and then like go to the fountain and have a drink of water.
Is he thanking you now though?
He is like, I think he's like healthier than I am. He gets his supplements shipped to my house all the time. So he's like, I know.
Well, nowadays
full circle.
It's like you can't even. I'm psycho too about that stuff. Like really, you can barely, I think, eat anything in the grocery store unless it's like around, that's fresh, because everything's so full of sugar and processed.
It's very heavily processed. Yeah, that was really big for me back then. So yeah, Booster Juice wasn't something that I would consume, but it was just like, it's all I knew. Like that franchise model, it was restaurant or quick serve. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting a job, but that was only because I had dropped off a resume and then followed up with a voice note or a voicemail that was like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like, hey, I dropped off a resume. Maybe you're not hiring. This is what I've been up to. Like, just tried to sell myself. And he didn't call me. The hiring VP called me a year later So I was doing some other really random things in that time, but he called me and said that it was your voicemail that just was like, okay, if we're ever hiring. So I was with Booster Juice for a couple of years before I would then leave. And actually my husband was with Booster Juice from day one. And that's where I ended up meeting my husband today. Yeah. And so we actually both left Booster Juice to partner with the Sorrentinos group.
We love Sorrentinos.
We love Sorrentinos.
Yeah. They had this idea to do a cafe version, which is Cafe Sorrentino.
Yeah.
So we had partnered with them, more so my husband, because he had that connection already, and I was just going to come in and like do some op stuff.
Yeah.
We did that for a few years and then got out of that partnership. And then we were both like, what do we do? He got into commercial real estate and I got into leasing, retail leasing, because I figured I knew a little bit about the landlord side in my previous business dealing. So I did retail leasing for about 4 years on the landlord side for City Center Mall.
Wow.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
Which is now completely looks way different.
Yes, it's not what it was.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
Of City Center
This
Mall,
is like the days of Zenari's and like Holt Renfrew and when Club Monaco was in this.
Well, Edmonton's so lucky to have you in that regard because I know it hasn't been easy on 104th, I think is where KB & Co. is. It's hard downtown. And I mean, you're one of the, sad to say, but like you're one of the longest running businesses in the last little while for a new one that started up. I mean, how has KB & Co. been? Like, was it great out of the gate or has it been an uphill battle?
It certainly wasn't great out of the gate. It was probably like about 6-7 months after that things really picked up. And that's a whole thing where I really, when I left real estate, it was to like, I need to do this KB. I had been thinking about it for a while and I just like dropped the job at a whim and just had to pursue this full time. And it took me about 1.5 years to get open. And then I had opened with like nothing. I had opened with $200 and racked credit cards just to get it open. And it was definitely challenging because I had positioned the business as like and still to this day, it's a plant-based cafe. And at that
incredible,
time,
by the way.
Thank you.
So good.
I'll say I'm not vegan because I do wear leather. And veganism never really, it wasn't the reason for starting KB & Co. KB & Co. was inspired by getting away from processed foods, like just eating whole
walnut
foods.
meat, like you have that in one of your...
And it's all everything that's made in the stores are all made from scratch in each location. Wow. Anything that's in the display case as far as like treats go, it's all made in each location and from scratch. So for me, it was like, we need to get away from eating like shit from a bag, like stuff that just comes in boxes and bags. So I went with plant-based because it was a term that seemed to be on the up or like trending at the time. Although the first few months people are like, what is plant-based? Like there was, cactus and earls. Like there were a lot of places that didn't even touch on this category, this phrase. So it was a bit of a learning experience for customers or like just wrapping their head around like plant-based by definition just means whole non-processed foods. Right. So it wasn't like you were trying to push like vegan fake shit down your throats. It's just eat real food. Yeah. So it was tougher in the first 7-8 months. I was also driving to work with this like I just want to pay my bills. Like I couldn't even believe that I got the doors open because it took over a year and we had no money and no money to do this. And then when I learned that my husband was like, I just vegan downtown Edmonton, like I don't know. I went like balls to the wall with like, I'm just going to fill out all these credit card applications and like see if I can buy, because I still needed.
Because you really believed in it. Like, isn't it crazy? It was in your gut. Like, I got to do this.
It had to happen. Like, it had to happen. But what's crazy is I knew that it wasn't going to be like where I was going to end up. It was also like through this 1.5 years that I had off when I had just quit my job and that was it. I'm like, I need to pursue this. I dabbled in meditation teacher training and Reiki, got my level 2 in Reiki, and I was meditating a lot. And what kept coming up for me was, I have to do this. Mm-hmm. So I would tell my husband, and we were not okay. Like our power bills were getting cut off and I would just like boil water. I'm like, well, it's just like put like pots of water into the tub and the kids will bath.
From a life of being so easygoing, right? Which is a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of paid off in some ways, but I it's so hard to explain how it needed to happen, and I knew that to my core that I had to get it open. So there was no like it wasn't going to, and so the fact that I got it open was a miracle, and so I then kind of slipped into this like I don't need to make any money, like thank you God for answering my prayers and I was able to follow my dream. I don't need to make money. I just want to like pay my bills. I just need to pay this debt back.
And do what you love. Yeah.
And do what I love. Because I really didn't feel like you could make money. And I think that's like a big misconception out there. Like we can make money, but also do what you love while doing it. I think there's this like people go to work. It's like, well, you can't enjoy what you do all the time. Like, and there's going to be those days.
For sure.
But for me, there wasn't like, oh, I could really, do really well with this business. It was just like I got the doors open.
And the first one that you opened up was on 104, right?
104 Street, yeah.
And then you now have 3 locations here in Edmonton.
There's 5 in total.
5?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
Where's the other 2?
There's Sherwood Park. So Windermere was the second.
Sherwood Park.
Yeah. Windermere was the second.
Yeah.
St. Albert was the third. Kelowna ended up being the 4th. I had opened in Kelowna. I thought I'd take this concept back home. But I also signed the lease when it was a plot of dirt, and I had all this time that I could kind of figure out how I was going to run that store and still have downtown.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a very like 1 to 10, and we'll figure out the details as we go. So I had that store, that was number 4, and that store had opened on March 16th of 2020. So it was 1 day before I laid everybody off in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Shut down. Yeah.
Well, you were ahead of your time too. Like, let's be frank. I mean, now the big craze in the States, leads like Erewhon, the shakes, all the thing. Like you were doing that before anyone was doing that. And it's like, it's nuts to me that you have to like sell people on eating real food.
Yeah.
We're lucky we have it.
Would you say that opening up the KB and Co's too, that's kind of made you more spiritual and wanting to go and do this documentary and things like that? Just the way of like your lifestyle? Yeah.
I think... yes and no. I think like the clean eating and that sort of that spiritual background I feel like I've always kind of had.
Yeah.
Like that, maybe, trusting in God, like trusting the process, like knowing that, man, given what I've gone through at such a young age, that there's just like no way I wasn't supported or guided in some way.
Especially in some of the situations you would have found yourself in at a very young age.
Wow. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think about that sometimes. Like there were many occasions that I would be at parties with like older men, older people, and to have never had been involved in anything that, any kind of...
Could have went bad.
Went off the rails.
For sure. Yeah. So I think I've just always trusted and leaned on God, I would say at the time, like on, I wasn't a big religious person, like going to church or anything like that, but I just always felt like I was being guided in some capacity.
It sounds like like, what do you owe your such great it seems like you have great self-esteem. And for someone with the upbringing you had, like you didn't have that support.
No.
What do you think helped you along in that regard?
So ugly,
That is a lot of water.
You're almost done.
I'm like, if they offer me water, I'll have to say no because I just want to track when I'm drinking my water. I've never been asked that. Probably like the confidence that I have is probably due to like the things that I've been able to do in like career. I feel like that's only helped, right? Like you buy your own business in your young 20s, you think you're going to be a millionaire. I assure you I was not owning a Quiznos in like 5 years. I think
Quiznos, what the heck?
Yeah, come on.
Toasted tastes better. We all know it does. It does still taste better. But I think, and then you get this job working for Quiznos Canada and you just feel like you're on top of the world. You're like, I was really close with my dad around this time, and I for sure have like daddy issues for sure, where I'm like, I remember in my 20s, I'm like, don't we all have daddy issues? But where I would call him all the time about like what I got this job and I bought my first car, it was a Corolla XRS, like standard, like I'm brand new. Like I definitely think that I was, and I think I was worried about like how he would, I don't know how he would feel about me having like a teenage, or being a teenage mom, right? Like I was always kind of worried about that.
You really took it. You really wanted him to respect you. Like there was still a
Yeah,
constant from him at
for
least.
sure.
Yeah.
And from everybody else around you, like you honestly surpassed and you just kept trucking along and you really made a very positive name for yourself. So I'm sure that helped.
Thank you. It gets you so far. And I think that's where, like with this documentary, so I actually built KB & Co to 8 locations. And then I had, with Kelowna being my own location, I kept that one and then had the existing 104 Street location. I've always had that one myself, but I've thrown various managers in there to help me while I've been in BC. In 2021, I got a call from Children's Services to take my 5-week-old niece. At the time, she was 5 weeks, so quite fresh. There was no other option besides foster care. And I took her on, which really was felt like a setback because my youngest was 14. I forget how old my oldest, so maybe like 24.
That's wild.
So I felt
You're like, I have to start over again.
I for sure. I mean, it was supposed to be a temporary thing. So I'm like, okay, I could, but also it's a newborn.
Yeah.
And I can't just like drop this newborn off anywhere. So I would bring her, and I was still at this time going back and forth between Edmonton and Kelowna, and she could fly for free. So I would just bring her.
Wow.
And I had the kitchen in Kelowna at KB. They're all set up for baby stuff. Like I had the
you got the jumper in the back.
And then if I was dealing with a customer and she, the baby, her name is Aaliyah needed something, my staff would like run to her. Like I would bring in extra staff to like take her for walks around the park so that I could just work the lunch because I was better at being in the store than like sometimes we're all as owners better than our staff sometimes. Yeah. So I would utilize the staff a lot to help me with that. But that was. And I was just about to open 2 new locations, which was Shore Park and the Northside location in Newcastle. So I would bring her there for the opening, like getting it set up, and she'd be in a playpen over in the corner. Even through like construction, I'd toss her in a playpen so that I could work.
Were you
with
kind
the
of like,
contractors.
what is happening here? Like, this is not what I expected at all.
Not at all. Yeah. Oh, totally. It felt like because I have such a strong belief in things happening for a reason. I do feel like I would have my days where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, there's no way I can do this. I can't have a baby. And like my whole life I was separated, and my husband or ex-husband, I guess, we were sharing our youngest, and he was 13, 14. So he was easy to manage. He's 13, 14, so he could be home and I could still go. Like I could still do whatever I wanted. I could go to Kelowna for a week and not have to worry about anything because my oldest kids had moved out. My youngest was between us both, my ex and I. So then all of that changes, right? Like you can't, like you're sleep, like you're not sleeping anymore because it's a newborn, and so that was really hard. And I'd have my days of like, this is bullshit. I wish, the idea was that my sister would get better and go through recovery, and then it was, she was going to, and then didn't, and going to, and then you're battling that whole. Never mind, like then battling the system. Like I learned a lot about Children's Services and their mandates and just the things that they do, to the chances that they give. Like it's wild. It wasn't until Aaliyah was probably 6-7 months that I started to sort of see like she's staying. Like there's like she's not going anywhere, so I need to get her out of the system because she was still technically in the system.
Yeah.
And I was just the caregiver.
So now you've fully adopted her.
Yeah. So I've
Wow, congratulations. Good for you.
Yeah, last year. Thank you.
And she's 4 now.
She's 4.
Does it kind of feel like a little bit of your sister though is now with you all the time?
Yeah.
Like it was her child, right?
Your well, another sister. So so then a little bit. Okay. Like the sister that is the mother of Aaliyah is a stepsister who was like estranged and had always struggled with substance abuse. A lot of my siblings struggle with substance abuse, and not just like alcohol, like it's like meth and all the things, fentanyl, and so I was a bit surprised to get that call to begin with, because I had heard she was pregnant through other family, but just kind of thought like, hope everything, works out. She had actually gone on to have twin boys. She got pregnant like 7 months, 8 months after Aaliyah, then had twin boys who then came to me for about 10 days because I had opened my door. And so
Holy
when I got the call,
man.
and
I don't even know. This timeline is absolutely
It's-
insane.
yeah.
Like when you tell people this, are they like, is this real life? Like,
Well,
is
I-
this
yeah,
actually
I-
happening?
You're just so
that-
chill about it too. You're like, no, I got called for twins, and I said, sure, why not?
I know. and then I was like, don't call me again. I had taken them, and that was insane. They were 10 months old, and then I had like a whole entourage of family and my one sister who flew up here from Kelowna to help me, and then I had friends that came over, and I had this like revolving because I had work, I had Aaliyah, I had things to do. I couldn't like manage these twin boys who were crawling, and I'm in a taller house with stairs everywhere. So I'm like, this is a disaster. My sister had gotten better to the point of being able to get them back.
Good.
After this 10-day period, but then lost them again just this past summer. And they did reach out to me, and
That's pretty, you can't.
You're so busy.
And there could be a home that could be so excited to get twins that would be grateful.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not on the
So
foster
was
system, but
was that kind of the last like shock for you then? Now everything kind of feels like level. You're doing this documentary, KB and Co. Things are going well.
you're
Like,
enjoying life finally?
yeah. Do you feel
Yeah.
like things are on the path that you said that you were kind of lost about? Is it back on track?
Maybe we'll ask you in the spring.
It's so dry when I'm talking so much. No, I don't know what the hell's going on in my life. I don't know what I'm going to do. But
It's relatable.
To rewind,
seriously.
I lost a sister 2 months later after getting my newborn, or the Aaliyah.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to
Another
hear
sister
that.
who was in Kelowna, and she had struggled with addiction, and I lost her in December of 2021. And then I would go into 22 with this sort of like, what am I doing? There were 2 stores that were opening, and then I had a store in Calgary that I had opened in 2020 as well, where they had, the franchisees had walked from that space. And then I went in and like quickly took over and resold it for like nothing to somebody else who would go in and absolutely like shit the bed on everything, the worst franchisees. And so I was battling that. And then I could start to feel like they're like, what am I doing? Like everything's starting to get like, and we're trying to fight COVID too. Through all of this time. So the stores now are, this was the first time I ever felt like a founder of a company, because for right up until COVID, I would say I'm franchising and opening these stores, but we're like this happy family. Like, it's not like I'm above you or in any way. We support each other, we help each other. And then when COVID hit and all these franchisees are like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know I don't know what to do. Like, how would I know what to do? I don't think anybody knew what to do. But I was adamant that we keep going and that we just stay open. It didn't matter if we did $10 or $20. We just needed to stay open, because I really felt like if we had closed our doors, the rebound, if it was going to happen, was going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah. I mean, you have to stand up for yourself and for your company. And I think as a result, many people in the city, I'm sure you know many, that took the hit and they were never able to recover.
And we're lucky to have you still here. Like, I mean, we've seen a revolving door in the downtown Edmonton. You want to be proud of the places in your city, and we're so lucky that we have such a evolved location like KB & Co. that's still here, and we hope it stays for a long time. And and it's been so, I mean, we could talk to you forever. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story. And
it's incredible. It's very inspiring, and I think many people will find it very inspiring, just from where you started to where you are now. And
and we hope to have you back after the doc. I can't wait to see this doc, and once it's out, to really dive deep more into what we witness and that whole experience, because you're kind of still in it sounds like.
It's wrapping up, but it wrapped up just this past weekend, so it'll be, they're piecing all the stuff together.
Amazing. What's it called again, to make sure people...
Unbecoming.
Okay.
Unbecoming.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking this conversation off air. It's been a pleasure.
I'm Ciara Yaschuk.
And I'm Lisa MacGregor.